Hey everybody. Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and we're going to get started in just a second. Welcome to the Secrets to Getting Infomercial and Promotional Work webinar. I've got two incredible guests today. I'm really excited to talk to and learn more about the industry with, and I know that you're going to really enjoy it as well. Let me just go over a couple of really quick ground rules for the day, just so you know exactly what's going to be happening. Number one, if you do have any questions at all, if there's some technical issues that you're having while you're watching or something happens and you drop out and you're having problems getting back in, I'm going to have Shelly, our producer, give out a phone number, a technical line that you can call in order to get any kind of information that you need to get yourself back online. If for some reason that does happen and you can't, it's no big deal. Everything's being recorded and you will be sent a link of the entire workshop by Wednesday. The other thing too that I'm going to be sending to you, actually, there are a couple other things I just learned about, some really good links that I want to share with you. So you'll get another couple bonuses, and you will also get all the contact information of my guests. So that way you can reach out to them as well. That's really pretty much all I needed to say about the just the business end here. And I really would like to get started really soon because we have a lot to cram in a short time period. So I'd like actually, Shelley, if you wouldn't mind just giving out that phone number to everybody in case somebody needs it.
Certainly, that telephone number is 1-800-263-6317. That's 1-800-263-6317, and that is GoToMeeting Technical Support.
Great, thank you very much, Shelley.
You're welcome.
So, so our first guest this morning, and her name is Margaret Colbeck, and she is somebody that you definitely want to get to know. She works at Vantage Advertising, and it's a huge company. And what they do is they hire tons and tons of promotional models nationwide. So you can really be living, pretty much anywhere throughout the country. And if there's an event going on there, they need talent, they reach out and they try to find people in many different markets within the United States. I don't know if they actually, I can ask Margaret whether they do anything outside the US, but I do know that in the US they have a tremendous presence. So actually, Margaret, if you wouldn't mind um, popping in if you are ready.
Sure, one second. Let me just get in here.
Sure.
Okay, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you today?
Good, doing really well. So, the very first thing I just wanted to touch base on, um, when we're talking about promotional work, a lot of times people have no idea what that means, or sometimes people have these preconceived ideas that that just means people standing on a street corner handing out samples of things, but certainly there's a lot more involved in promotional work than just that. So I was hoping maybe you could share with people what kinds of jobs that Vantage Advertising offers talent, and what are some of the different types of promotional work that is available for people.
Sure. So we work largely in trade shows. So if there's a big trade show coming to Vegas or Chicago or Miami, Orlando, New York, a lot of our talent work at those events. So they'll go to those conventions or conferences, and they'll actually act as a representative for the company, usually as like a spokesmodel or a promotional talent or booth assistant. And they'll really just kind of engage with attendees and really get to know the attendees that are approaching the booth and kind of generate that booth traffic. And then from there, they usually, give out the information that they need to for the company, for the trade show. That being said, a lot of that talent also does other types of jobs. So sometimes we'll hire bilingual models that will actually act as an interpreter for our clients to the attendees or vice versa. A lot of other times they'll act as game show hosts that kind of help to bring traffic to the booth. They'll act as presenters that are presenting content about the client, and all sorts of different things at trade shows. On the flip side of that, we also do promotional events across the country that are outdoor events. So South by Southwest is a big one that we do, where they'll act as a street team or, a promo girl that just kind of walks around handing out information. So it's kind of a wide range of different jobs that the talent can do.
Well, it sounds like then you need a wide variety of people with, multiple types of talents. Um, do people actually have to audition for you, or how exactly do people get onto your roster so that they can be considered for jobs?
So we don't do any in-person auditions here. Everything, because we work in so many cities, everything's just done via the phone. Occasionally we'll do Skype interviews with talent, but usually the promotional talent will approach us with their resume, which is usually full of years of experience. But some people come to us brand new that are just starting out, and usually they'll come to us with this information, and then we decide whether or not they fit the criteria of what we're looking for our team.
And so when you're talking about, looking at resumes, what kinds of things are you looking for that would grab your attention and have you think, well, I like what they've done and I definitely would like to work with them? Or for somebody who's never done this kind of work and they really wouldn't have any kind of promotional work on a resume, what are you looking for that would intrigue you and make you think, you know what, I think this person, might be really good?
So usually if they're very experienced, and their resume is full top to bottom with especially trade show experience, because we work largely in trade shows, that is usually a dead giveaway that they're going to be a part of our team. Years, 7+ years, 5 years, even 2 years. If they've done promotional work full time for a year, like multiple years, then they'll usually get hired through us as part of the team. As far as the newer people that are just kind of starting out and looking to get their feet wet in the industry, what we specifically look for is sales experience, customer service experience, anything where they're directly interacting with customers on a face-to-face basis.
Got it. And so, because it's interesting, like when you're talking about a resume, this is going to be very different than an actor's resume. So, for your kind of resume, what you would like to see is really a listing of, like you were saying, either previous promotional work, and I'm assuming, would you want to see in that resume the type of job that they did, who the client was, where the convention actually took place? Is that what you would be looking for?
Absolutely. So what we specifically are looking for is, they worked at the Las Vegas Convention Center for CES this year or multiple years, the different clients they did, and then what their roles were. Maybe one year they were just like a booth hostess, but another year they were an actual spokesmodel that was out there presenting information. We want to know all of that information to see exactly what their experience is. So the more detail in the resume, the better. So lots of times these girls will have resumes that are pages and pages long, which is not, they're very common in this industry, and that's totally acceptable.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And so for somebody, let's say who maybe hasn't done sales, maybe somebody who has, is just trying to break into doing promotional work, is there anything that they can, present to you that still would make you think, you know what, you've got to start somewhere, and I like what I'm seeing here.
Usually, like I said, it comes down to the customer service experience. So if they've done anything in person with customers, that usually helps. And the other thing that usually helps is if they give me a call and I talk to them and they're just very good with conversation and a very good people person, then they're going to be hired by us, whether or not they've worked in the past.
And I never even thought of this, but I wonder if somebody is, and by the way, for everybody who's watching this, actually, Margaret, you're the one that everybody wants to get to know at Vantage, because you
You can
are the
say that.
person that. So maybe you should first list, what kind of things do you like? Do you like chocolates? Do how do people get on your good side very quickly? But I was just wondering, have people, or would you accept somebody maybe sending a very, very short video or a link to a video with saying, "Hey, look, I've never done this before. I'd love to do it. I love being around people, just so people can, so you could get a really good sense of what the person is like. And maybe, if they don't have any kind of the experiences that you're looking for, maybe that would also help sell them to you."
Yeah, that's actually something that I should have mentioned earlier. I do get videos all the time of just there's short video YouTube clips of people, that are just kind of talking for 30 seconds or a minute about just about themselves. And if they're really good at the conversation, then they're definitely going to get put to the top of the list.
Great. Okay, so now we know, what you are looking for, what people will be doing. So let's just say I get a phone call from you, and you're saying, "Aaron, look, I've got a possible job for you. What kinds of questions should I be asking you, or what kinds of information is it essential that the promotional talent has before going to the job?" I mean, I'm assuming things like, what are my hours, what are my fees, what are my responsibility, but maybe you could just walk people through that so that people have a really good sense of what they need to ask and what information they need to get before going to the job.
Sure. So the way it works with our company is that we will send out, when you're part of our team, you get an email from us when we have an upcoming gig in your area, and it will list all of the event information, the location, the times, the dates, everything, as well as the rate that you'll be paid. And then if it moved to the point where you are the one, you're in the top 5 that we're looking to hire, and I give you a call or my sales team gives you a call, the questions that you kind of want to make sure that you're asking are that you understand all the event information, everything is very clear. And this goes for any promotional agency. You want to make sure that you know what you're doing. And if anything has changed, because clients sometimes do kind of change things in the days leading up to the event, make sure that you're in the know. And the other thing that I always recommend, and if the model doesn't bring it up, I do, is payment and how you're going to get paid. Because there is sometimes a negative connotation in this industry that there are some bad agencies out there that don't pay. So you want to make sure ahead of time that you know what's going on with payment, how it's going to work, the process, and all of that. It's not a bad thing to ask. I think it's actually a very good thing, and you are working for us, so you do deserve to be paid. So I always make sure that we go through all of that ahead of time and make sure everything's clear and everyone feels comfortable.
Well, I know, like, for instance, in the commercial modeling world, typically it can take up to 90 days for us to get paid from the day of the shoot. For promotional work or with managed advertising, typically how long will it be before a talent actually gets a check?
So typically on average, and this is not for our company, but on average, most promotional modeling agencies will pay within 30 to 90 days, similar to what you were talking about. Here at Vantage, we actually try and kind of be above that, and we pay our models within 10 to 15 business days after the event. As long as everything goes smoothly and our accounting department gets the invoice on time, we try and pay rather quickly.
And I'm assuming this would hold true on a job for promotional work, like with any other kind of modeling job. You don't want to discuss your fees with anybody else because that can
No.
only create a lot of problems. And I've been on sets where, one model is saying, I'm only getting $150 an hour for this thing, or 125. How much are you getting for this one? And the other model, oh, I'm making 175. Really?
Mhm.
Because and all of a sudden there are all kinds of problems. And what a lot of people don't realize is that, and I don't know how it works with Vantage, but at least I can say in the commercial modeling world, sometimes certain models might get paid more money than others. Maybe one model has a lot more experience. Maybe one model is traveling a lot farther, and that agent was able to negotiate some extra money, for that. So just as a little bit of a warning, when you're doing any of these kinds of jobs, just don't bring up finances. It can only create problems for you.
Yeah, that I absolutely always recommend that to our talent too, because like you were saying, there's a variety of different reasons that people are getting paid, all sorts of different rates. So it's very uncomfortable and makes things very awkward for everyone, whether you're getting paid more or less. It's awkward for everyone, and it's just not most experienced models in the industry, especially at trade shows and things. If they were to be asked that, they just won't answer it. They'll just kind of say, "Oh, that's not really appropriate." But definitely for the newer people that are just starting out, just don't ask that question. It just gets a little complicated.
Yeah, and and it sounds like, when you were talking about if a model or an actor is representing a company, corporation at an event, it seems like they're going to have to do some research and get some information about the company, especially if they certainly don't have to, know as much as the CEO, but it seems like
Right.
they might, in certain situations, they might actually have to learn about the company so they know what they're talking about when they're talking with people. So is there information that is sent out to the talent prior to the event, or do they get some kind of special meeting beforehand in some situations?
It depends on the client. If, for example, a promotional model is acting as a presenter or a spokesmodel for the gig, then absolutely the client will send over content that they go through us and then we pass on to the talent. So it could be, a PowerPoint presentation or a document on Microsoft Word that has, just talking points or what have you. As far as just like a standard booth hostess position, typically no. What happens is on-site training. So the talent will usually arrive a little early the first day of the event, talk to the client, kind of get a feel for what's happening, and then just go from there.
Got it. And I'm assuming, that the fees must vary tremendously, depending on experience, depending on the specific job, depending on the location, how many hours. But could you just give us a, general idea of the different amounts of money that people could potentially make when they're doing promotional modeling?
Sure. So like you said, it really varies on the event, the location, if it's on a holiday, the time of day, the model's experience. But typically, on average, it can go as low as $15 an hour and as high as like 35 or $40 an hour for the
And
talent.
and are there typical amount of hours that would be worked for the day? I mean, just to give people an idea of, how much they could potentially earn, for a day.
So a lot of different agencies have different minimums, hourly minimum or daily minimums. So for example, other agencies have like an 8-hour day where the client has to pay for an 8-hour day, and other agencies have like a 4 or 5 hour minimum that the model will always be paid for 4 or 5 hours, no matter how many hours they're working. But usually in the trade show industry, it's full days, 8-hour, 10-hour days, sometimes longer, depending on how long the client wants you there for and how long the show hours are.
So it sounds like, I mean, people could, pretty much bank on earning, minimum of 100 to a couple $100 a day doing this.
Absolutely.
And I mean, are there people that you work with that do this on a full-time basis, or do you find that most of the people just do it part-time?
We work in a lot of the really major market areas like Vegas and Chicago and LA, and there are tons of talent that are doing this full time, absolutely. In smaller areas, like Pennsylvania or even where I'm from in New York, Rochester, New York, which is up north a bit, they don't do it full time. It's more of a part time. They're students in school or they have a full time job and they're doing this on the weekends or evenings. But absolutely, in the bigger areas, there are full time talent.
Well, it sounds like it could be a great gig because it's flexible, it's not a long-term commitment. And, even if you're a full-time student and all of a sudden you get a 1 or 2 or 3 day booking, from you, I assume you could probably, work things out with your teachers, just say, hey, look, I'm not going to be available these days. Get all the information from school, and you'll make a lot more money doing that than waiting tables, in most
Yeah,
situations.
absolutely.
And also, the other thing too is, you just never know where these jobs can lead you. And maybe, I haven't asked you about this before, but I'm assuming that sometimes, somebody does a great job at an event, and all of a sudden the client goes, hey, you know what? I want this person for our next event.
Absolutely. A lot of our clients will work with the same talent over and over again, and kind of, which this may seem a little extreme, but there are times, and I have heard from talent where they've actually been offered full-time positions for the company. Yeah, because they do so well at talking about the company, and they want to hire them full-time as a sales team.
Now, and that's interesting. So let's say, there's a situation where somebody's in Vegas, they do a great job, the company loves them, and then there's another event in Miami, and this person lives, I don't know, somewhere in, the Nevada area. Is it unusual for a company, or does this happen where they will fly the talent to another convention and, certainly take care of hotels and meals and things like that?
It does happen. It's not as often as you would think because it can be quite expensive. But it does happen where if a client is, they connect with the talent in Vegas and they have an event in Miami, that they will fly them out and pay for all of their expenses. Like I said, it's not as often as you think, but it does happen.
And when you were talking about getting paid, um, are taxes ever taken out, or is that completely up to the talent to take care of? Just like in the modeling industry, where no taxes are withheld.
So most promotional agencies do not take taxes out. Vantage does not. So that's up to the model to take care of that, except for when tax season comes, we do send out 1099s to our talent. But I have heard from actually one of our models that a few agencies are starting to kind of move towards taking taxes out of the paycheck. We haven't done that here at Vantage, but I have heard that a few are coming and doing that. So that might be an up and coming trend that may start soon.
Yeah. And have you ever had a talent ask you, so what's the company, or who is this for? And then they might say to you, I'm just not comfortable working with this company. I'm just throwing out an example. Maybe it's a cigarette company, maybe it's an alcohol producing company, and they just don't want to support it. Would that be a problem for you, as the agent, to have a talent say, I just don't want to be involved with this one, but please keep me in mind for for future jobs.
No, actually, that's one of the things that we really appreciate from the talent. We try our best when we send out the event information to say, this is dealing with cigarettes, or, if you don't approve of alcohol or what have you, you might not be interested in this one. We try to make it very clear. But if it comes down to being, this talent's being booked and for some reason that kind of slipped through the cracks, and she says, what, actually, I'm not interested in working. We appreciate that because I'd rather have you tell me now so I can find new talent than show up to the event and say, this isn't for me, and then we have to scramble to find a replacement the day of.
Yeah, and so on a typical day, maybe you can just kind of walk us through it. I mean, I've done a few events at huge conventions where I was, basically representing different types of corporations. Um, so typically, you're going to try to get there very early, and always, make sure that you can give yourself plenty of time if parking is an issue. And I assume that would be one of the questions as well. Are they covering parking? What is the parking situation there? Um, Actually, and let me just ask you that right up front. Would that be a good question to ask your agent?
Yes, at Vantage we do provide, and some other agencies do as well, a kind of per diem for parking. So we pay a flat rate for parking, per day per parking, for parking. That being said, the convention halls are very expensive. So if a talent, can carpool or get dropped off, we always highly recommend that because the parking can be anywhere between $20 and $30 depending on where you are. Um, but we do have that parking per diem that we allow our talent to take.
And how about as far as lunch? Lunch goes, is there a time period that's built in for the talent to have 30 minutes or longer for lunch? And is that supplied, or how do those things work?
We don't necessarily make our clients pick a specific amount of time for our talent because trade shows are kind of a crazy, busy sort of place. So to allot, you definitely are going to get a half an hour lunch at noon. It's just kind of hard. So we let our clients make the discrepancy on when they allow their talent to go on lunch and for how long. That being said, because we don't kind of have a say in that, if the talent feels that they're not getting the requested time for lunch that they should be, we always tell them to give us a call and we will work it out with the client because obviously everybody needs to have that rest, recharge, and get ready for the rest of the event.
Sure. And so, but it would be up to the talent to cover their meal expenses in
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of situation.
Sometimes the client will pay for it though, but it's mostly up to the talent to provide their own lunch.
So for Advantage, I'm sorry, Vantage, what would be the best way for someone to try to get work, with your company?
So the best way is just to go on our website. Um, in on our right-hand corner of our website, there's an option to kind of create an account with us. And then once you upload all of your information, similar to Model Mayhem, where you add your photos and your resume experience and your stats, that gets sent to our team. And then once your profile is reviewed and then approved, you'll be a part of our team and you'll get added to the email listings that we send out.
Okay, so you're going to be, talent's going to be one of many people on this list. What would you recommend someone do to try to stay in touch with you, to try to get their names on the top of your list so that they can really be thought of more and give them a better shot of having an opportunity to work?
We just ask that they take the initial step to either give me a call or to email me and say, hey, Margaret, just so you know, I just submitted this information. Number one, did you receive it? Because, you always want to make sure that everything went through correctly. And number two, just wanted to, kind of put myself on your radar. And then I always appreciate a phone call too of the talent saying, I just signed up. I don't know, you know, when it will be approved or reviewed, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm really interested and I could get to know them that way.
Now, now I know like some of the things that I do with other industry professionals, it could be agents, could be photographers, could be casting directors. I find it helpful just to send notes. And I mean, I wouldn't call because most of the time I find that agents really don't like getting unsolicited phone calls from talent, just saying, hey, so what's going on? Great Super Bowl, huh? What did you think? They just don't have time for that because they're spending a lot of time trying to get work for the talent and negotiating and things like that. So what I do is, well, one of the things that I do is sometimes I will actually send an actual letter to
Mhm.
somebody. And I figure, it is more expensive and it's a little bit, certainly it's a lot more time consuming that way. But it seems like in today's time period to actually have a letter go through the U.S. mail, it's going to be noticed, it's going to be open, and when they open it, even if it just says, "Hey, just wanted to stay in touch with you. Just wanted to remind you, I'm around. Love to work with you. Please keep me in mind for future projects." Is that something that you think would be helpful for you and and other companies?
Yeah, actually, if I could show you my wall right now, you'd see all the notes that I've received from talent that I always keep. And when they send me a letter, I really appreciate it. I take the time to read it, and then I take the time to send them an email thanking them for thinking of me and for keeping me in mind. Because I like to stay connected with the talent. I know that other agencies they get really busy and they kind of put the talent to the side because they just want to book the the money with the client. But I really like to take the time to kind of get to know our talent as best as I can. I mean, we have thousands of talent in our system, but I try my best. So I love getting notes. It's really nice, actually.
Yeah, and and it just makes sense. Look, I know you wear multiple hats for the company, but one of them, you're the first person. You're like the gateway for people potentially getting hired. So, it's important for people to understand you're a human. You like getting personal notes from people, and and maybe I shouldn't speak for you, but I certainly can say for a lot of other agents, even though they might say, look, we don't have an A list and B list. Well, of course people do. If there's somebody who does a good job, you like their work, they're nice to you, they're professional, they show up on time. Well, why wouldn't you want to promote them, for future work? Because it's good business, and it makes you look good to have, professional people, and it's somebody, that you like. So it sounds like that would be a great way to try to stay in touch with you as well.
Absolutely.
And not to have too many negative things being thrown around, but I think it could be helpful for people to know some of the things that they absolutely should not be doing when they're working. I mean, some of the things that I thought of, and it's very similar to being on a set where you don't want to bring a camera, you don't want to start taking pictures and uploading it, to through social media, especially if you're shooting things that have some kind of copyright uh,
Mhm.
infringements, with them. Um, just doing things that aren't professional with the clients, not showing up on time, and things like that. Are there any things that you can think of that would definitely hurt somebody's chances of ever working with you guys again?
Yeah, like you said, the ones you mentioned, not showing up on time. And the other one that really seems to get us is, sitting down on the job. Like a lot of times the talent are on their feet for 10 hours a day, and I know that it's long, but that's what you were hired to do, so you have to kind of maintain that persona as much as you can and not sitting down, not being on your cell phone, texting or calling people, and not doing anything inappropriate with any of the attendees or the clients. Occasionally there, you might know somebody that's at the event, so you might gravitate towards them. Or even if you're working with a team of models and you know other talent, we're all friends in this industry. It's surprising how many people know each other. But it's really unprofessional to get and stay kind of in that clique with that person. You are hired to go out and promote the client, so make sure that you do that and then use your break time to hang out with them or to talk and catch up.
And I guess also, just having a good attitude, and
Hmm.
look, if things are bothering you, if there are things on the set that you're not, or the set, or the convention that you're not happy with, I think what's really important for people to understand is you don't want to start complaining to the client. If there's a problem on the set, they should be calling you, or whoever is designated as the liaison to get in touch with. But you always want to maintain a great relationship with the client, whether you're happy with the client or not. And they're not the ones to go to complain about things, because in the big picture, they are representing Vantage, and so if they do something that's not really good, it's a poor reflection on your company as well. And I assume that would be something that would end somebody's career with you pretty quickly.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very good point to make that you don't want to go to the client when there's an issue. You give us a call and we will take care of it for you.
Right. Hey, look, I want to make sure that we have some time for people to be able to ask questions. So let me just mention, if there are people who have any questions for Margaret now, what you can do is click on the little hand icon, and then Shelley will turn on your microphone so you can ask a question. If you prefer not to ask it live, but actually just type it in, there's a chat box, and you can type in your question, and then Shelley will ask the question as well. So you guys can do that right now if you would like. Shelley, let me ask you, are there any questions that have come in that we should be asking?
Yes, student Thomas Sin has a question in the class, and if you like, I can unmute him.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, Thomas, I'm about to unmute your microphone. There you go.
All right, there we
Hey,
are. Can you
Thomas,
hear
how
me?
are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Aaron?
Good, doing really well.
Good. Thank you again for the Tuesday night gathering, by the way. I enjoyed that a
Oh, that
great
was
deal.
a special thing for season pass members. You're very, very welcome. That was fun.
Thank you. And Margaret, thank you to you for taking the time to be with us today.
No problem.
So here's my question. I went to your website on another device I have here, and it looks very thorough. I'll be signing up soon. And I noticed on the pictures a lot of lovely, lovely models. I'm kind of dashing, but I'm not exactly what you call, a Sports Illustrated cover photo subject. So is there work for those of us who are, you know, okay, but not, not the first one you'd ask out for Valentine's Day?
Absolutely. We hire all types of talent for a variety of different events. So you don't necessarily have to be the most attractive girl or guy to get talent with us. We do street team events and promotional events and all sorts of different things. And we hire talent all the time. And that includes a wide range of ages as well. We hire anybody from 18 to 40. It really depends on the client, and our client, they have a lot of different needs, so we hire a variety of people.
Okay, good. I kind of thought that was the case. I just wanted to hear you say it. That's all.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for your response.
You're welcome.
Shelley, are there any other questions?
Yes, one moment. I'm just going to mute Thomas's microphone again. And we have a question that has come in over the email. And this question is from Jackie in Maryland. And she is asking, Margaret, does Vantage require photo posting on the website for bookings?
No, actually, we do a lot of referral bookings, and there are some talent that don't want to be listed on our website for a variety of different reasons. So a lot of times I'll just get their information via email, and then we forward that along to our clients. So you don't necessarily have to be on our website to get booked.
She is also asking, how do I get involved in event hostess work in the East Coast horse racing circuit like the Preakness?
Well, that would be through a promotional agency. I don't personally have any experience with horse racing, but we do a lot of NASCAR events, and it's the same idea that you would just go through an agency. So I would just research different agencies, maybe with that keyword, and then hopefully get some talent or some work through them.
And just to kind of jump in there, maybe something else that you would be able to do is contact Preakness, and find out which companies they go through for, promotional talent. And I'm sure you can easily get that information, and then you just go directly to them, and that would be a great way of doing it.
That's true, because there are some clients that actually hire talent, not through an agency, just through their own company.
Great. Any other questions out there?
I am not showing any others at the moment, no.
Shell, I'm seeing here there were a few other questions that came in. I see Deborah with her hand up.
Let's look and see.
Oh, my apologies.
I missed that one. Deborah, I'm sorry. I'm going to unmute your microphone now.
There we go.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this. I do have a question. I have quite a bit of experience on TV. I've been on Teen Mom and some other programs with my daughter. And I was wondering, you did mention a little bit in the beginning about some of these conventions or promotional opportunities where they might have motivational speakers or people who would be speaking. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So for our specific industry, I was talking about hiring a spokesmodel or a presenter for the booth specifically, which what you're talking about might be more so just a speaker for the event, which then you'd want to go through the event itself and whatever agency is kind of organizing their event. Because we don't have necessarily any specific requests for particular people for motivational speakers or something of that nature. Our industry is a little bit more for just presenting at the booth about the client's product.
I can tell you that, and I don't know about motivational speakers, but there are people that are hired as the spokesperson for companies. And I've done that before. I can tell you it's a tough gig. I use something, it's called an ear prompter for those things. And for those of you who aren't familiar with ear prompters, basically they are very, very small tape recorders. Today, most people are using digital ones, or you can have a small tape one. And then you have a little earpiece that goes in your ear, kind of looks like a hearing aid, but it's pretty much invisible to the world. You have a little loop that goes through your shirt. And basically what you do is you have to record the entire script of what you're going to be saying. And this thing could be 5 minutes long. And sometimes there is a tremendous amount of dialogue, technical information that would be, at least for me, pretty much impossible to memorize. And you're going to be doing this many, 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 many times throughout the day. And so basically what you do is you hit the start button, you hear the recording that you've already made on your little cassette, and you say the lines. And it, like I said, it's a tough gig. It can be very, very noisy in those large halls, and but those people get paid a lot of money. It's quite a bit of money to be a spokesperson. So that is something you can always look into as well.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I do have a real technical background too, so that's kind of why I was asking that question. I'd like to try to mix my acting and modeling skills with my technical
Yeah,
ability.
no, and I can just tell you one little trick. You cannot start saying the words of the script um, immediately when you hear them. The real trick is let 3 words go by in your ear and then you start talking. So you're constantly 3 words behind. That's how you make it sound like it's just flawless and you're just doing a great talk. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck. I can guarantee it. So, but anyway, we can talk about that, privately sometime, just kind of showing you how to do it.
Thank you.
Sure. Shelley, we probably have time for maybe one or two more questions. Anybody else out there?
Yep, I have a question from Steph in Georgia. Do actors or models have to pay any fees to be represented by your company?
No, you don't pay any fees at all. And I highly, depending on the agency, especially in promotional work, if there's a company that's asking you to pay up, I wouldn't do it. I don't. It's probably a scam because in our industry you don't have to pay anything. It's just you sign up and you get talent. You get work from us.
Okay, and then we have Annie in North Carolina who's asking, I know this might sound a little weird, but what happens if we agree to do a booking with you and then we are offered an acting or a modeling job? Would it be okay to pull out of the promotional gig?
So that's a great question because you guys, especially in this industry, you have so many things going on all the time, and you might have that awesome gig that you just got, and you really want to take this commercial job over the promotional job you're supposed to do for us. In those cases, we ask our talent to be upfront and honest with us. If you just tell us from the beginning, look, there's a big opportunity I just got, I don't want to miss it, we'll most likely understand as long as we have hopefully enough time to kind of get it corrected. If we don't, and you find out the day before, we just ask that you help us find staffing to kind of take a little bit of the burden off our shoulders. But as long as you're upfront and honest and you're not like, oh, I'm sick, we understand how busy you guys are, so we just hope that you guys kind of work with us as well.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in there. I can just tell you that honesty really is the best policy, and not to say that the agent isn't going to be upset with you or angry because you are not able to do a job because it's creating a lot more work. The client already wanted you to be there, but it's always in your best interest to be honest. And I can tell you a couple of things that I've done sometimes, and sometimes I've lost money on jobs because I gave my word that I was going to do a job, and then a higher paying job came up for me, and I would do everything I possibly could to see if I could do both, to see if one of the dates could be switched, if that was a possibility, if the hours could be spread out in a way so that I could do both. And there have been a few times where ultimately I just had to say no to the second booking, and I did lose money from doing it. But one thing that I did find is that because I was upfront with the agent, she really appreciated my honesty and also knew that she could depend on me and count on me. And I know that she went to bat and really pushed pretty hard for me for other projects in the future, even tried to get some additional money that I wasn't expecting for future jobs, just because she knew that she could rely on me. And so I'm not saying you're never going to be in a situation where you do have to drop out, but without a doubt, and I agree with Margaret, I mean, always you want to be upfront with somebody, and but if you can, I mean, your word is really very important. And if you can, see if you can stick to it. Michelle, do we have time for, I don't know, for one more question? Are there any other questions out there?
Right. We do have one more question here, and it's from Madison in Colorado. She asks, how do you decide, or is it the client who decides on which actors or models get booked for a specific job?
So with our company, it's up to the client 100%. We send them the list of available models for the gig, and then they select who they want to work with. That being said, we do make recommendations. So for example, if I've worked with you in the past, or you provided me with information of you working similar events or that event in the past, even if I haven't worked with you, we'll recommend you to our clients. And our clients tend to take our word because, you know, we are the agency, and usually they're not really sure who's the best person for them, and we have that knowledge, so we do recommend talent, but ultimately it's up to the client.
And I guess just to kind of follow up on that, it makes it even more important to have really good photographs, so that if that's, you know, the primary thing that's going to grab somebody's attention, especially if you were one of many people, you want to make sure that you know how to put together a great headshot or a great commercial shot, so that when you are, you know, being seen by clients, you're seen in a real professional way and in a way that will help get you work, as opposed to, you know, just, you know, standing on a street corner with a, you know, partially fuzzy black and white photograph or something. So that's really helpful information for everybody to have. You know, just knowing that you've got to have a really good, strong photo.
Absolutely.
Well, Margaret, I know we could go on for a long time. We're going to have to end things here, but like I mentioned, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. We will be getting all the information about Manage Advertising and your contact information to everybody here as well, so they can get a hold of you. And so, anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Hopefully, you know, the information I provided today will really help talent, and hopefully we'll get some great talent out of this too.
I'm sure you
Look forward
will.
to working with you guys.
Great. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you.
Hey, Shelley.
Yes.
Hey, so I just wanted to find out if Julia was there, if she's ready.
Julia is here. She is here. Feel free to
Julia!
introduce her.
Hey!
Hi, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks. So we're going to shift gears here a little bit, and actually, hey, Shelley, I'm not sure if you are able to hear this. I'm hearing like a slight echo in my voice.
I'm hearing it too.
You're hearing it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any kind of magical thing you can be doing on your end, that would be great. It's not horrible, but I do hear a little delay in there.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
adjust. Okay. There I am.
okay, yeah, and I'm also hearing the delay with Julie as well.
Same.
Okay. Okay, so let me start this one again. And so it's one of the beauties of being able to edit a little bit. I want to introduce Julia Parker. She is incredible. Here's a woman who's done so many different things in the industry. Has had tremendous success. You've seen her bio, and I'll send you additional information. You can go visit her website. You'll be getting all of that after the webinar is done. Actually, is that a phone on your end by any chance?
It's mine. Somebody's calling my house phone, and I can't. I'm not
Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. Okay, just
it's
wanted to
sitting in
make
my
sure.
office, so.
Sure. So just to let everybody know, I mean, Julie's done everything from a tremendous amount of modeling work. She's done television shows, commercials, feature films, independent films, a lot of infomercials. You do a lot of interviewing with talent as well. And you know, the area that I'd like to, actually, maybe what I'll do is, let me just wait 1 second. Let me let that one go through.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'm going to get rid of the phone.
Okay, great. Well, it's nice you guys get a
Okay,
chance to see
I am
behind the
back
scenes and in front of the
without
scenes as well.
without a phone in my office.
Okay, so
Sorry
I'm going
about
to do
that.
that little intro again just to make it a little
Okay,
bit
good.
easier.
Clean.
Great. Okay. So I want to welcome Julia Parker. I'm really excited to talk with you today. Julia's just done so many different things in the industry, and she's like this real Renaissance woman who, and I think it's a really smart idea as well to not just focus on one part of the industry, but I mean, she's had tremendous success working as a model, and you've worked in many different parts of the United States.
I
I know
have.
you were in Florida for a while. You were living
Hmm.
in New York. I know you're in LA
Hmm.
now, but you've
Yeah.
done modeling. You've done feature films. I do remember seeing in your bio you work with Woody Allen.
Yeah.
You've done television shows, commercials. You do infomercials. You've just done many different things in the industry, and you've had tremendous success with it. So first of all, congratulations. That's really
Um,
cool.
Thank you so much. I
Ah,
appreciate
you're
all the
welcome.
accolades.
Absolutely. And people hear about infomercials, and sometimes you see these infomercials like on at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But there are many different types of infomercials out there, and I wanted to start off if you would just talk a little bit about what exactly is an infomercial and what are the different types that are out there.
Well, infomercials are DRTV, which is direct response television. And what it is, they're infomercials. They're either in a long form, which is about a half an hour, or they're short forms, which you see 2-minute infomercials in between. Sometimes they'll buy up a whole space. Um, the ones that I was associated with, I'm not doing as many right now because I'm very busy with film and TV, but the ones that I did, they were half-hour infomercials, and like you said, they're at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I still have a couple airings. If you can't sleep and you flip through the channels, you might just see Kimaro Body Shaper or Kimaro Curve Control Jeans, and a lot of fun. Of course, you'll see the celebrity infomercials. They're very popular right now. Once the economy kind of took a dive, they stopped using as many hosts because you get paid a lot of money usually. And lately, what you get paid is not as much unless, of course, you're union and you're getting residuals every time it airs, which would be wonderful, but they don't have that many of those. And if you're a celebrity, you get usually a buyout and residuals and back end and all that. So the infomercial world is wonderful, and it's if you take the time to first of all get some experience that you can do at home. You can do it on your iPad, you can do it on your computer, your iPhone. There's all kinds of teleprompter programs, apps that you can get that you can practice with. You go online, you can pull up copy or sides and just work them, just get used to it, learn about a product, maybe target a product and actually go after the production company that is shooting that and say, I think I'd be a great host. So there's all different types of avenues of infomercials, but I think the ones that I've done a couple of the 2-minute ones, but I tend to focus on the half hour. You make more of
So
a connection with your audience. So
yeah, I was going to ask, so what are some of the skills that someone would need in order to be a successful host for an infomercial?
I think one of the skills is there's many different things you need to be able to do. You need to be able to keep high energy for a long period of time. And I tend to have that. You also have to, I feel that you have to kind of connect with the middle of the country. And it's a hard thing to say that the coasts don't count, but the people who are buying a lot of this product is like the mom and pop people, the people who live in the middle of the country, hardworking. They see something that they think will really work for them. Usually it's a product that helps them. My Body Shaper product, really great for people who just need a little bit more slimmer figure or fit in their clothes better. I did a glamour lash one that was great for people who could put their own little eyelashes on when they were going out on date night or whatever. So I think that if you can connect with your audience in the Midwest and just the day in and day out people who are watching these shows, I think
And
that's important.
And I was just going to say, I guess part of it too is whether you truly believe it or not. And I guess in the best case
Yeah.
scenario is if you do find things in the product that you are sharing with people, things about it that you really like, things that you can connect with,
Yes.
that passion.
You have to believe in it. You have to believe in the product that you're selling. And you have to, I think it's really important to try and use the product first, because then you know the product really well. You know, you really believe in it because you've tried it, and it's not a scam type product. That you definitely don't want to be associated with anything that's hasn't been tested, hasn't been proven. Somebody came up to me one time and asked if I would do a weight loss product pill. And I asked them if I could get all the information on it before I said yes. And I read about it, and I found out that they wanted me to actually say that I'd used this to lose weight. And I don't lie. And people know if you don't believe in it, and they know if you don't feel connected to it. So I think it's really important to believe in the product that you're selling.
Well, and also this is your reputation, and you're the face of this product. And if all of a sudden things kind of go up in smoke and you're the spokesperson, even though it might not, it might not be your company, but you're the face of it, and that's who they're going
Yeah.
to recognize. I mean, that would be a horrible situation. But so when you have to fill 30 minutes, which is a long time to just talk
Yeah.
about a product and maybe answer questions from people who are calling in or saying hello when
Hmm.
people say how great the stuff is. So how does it work? Are you working off of a teleprompter, or are you just ad-libbing? Are you improvising, or how does that work?
There's many during an infomercial shoot. There's usually many teleprompters, many cameras, different angles. It's a long day. It's usually like 12 to 15-hour days. It could be one day, it could be 3 days. Long day of talking nonstop. So you've got teleprompter. I've done it where they didn't have a teleprompter and I was helping somebody out, so I have an ear prompter. So I use an ear prompter, and that has saved me so many times. On my iPad, I have an app called Prompterus. And Prompterus is something that you can download, copy to, and you can scroll it at a different speed depending on what you need. I was actually E-Entertainment. One of the hosts there was using it, and it was connected to the iPhone onto a little. It was just above the camera, so he could grab it real quick and then get back to the camera. So there's many different ways that you can prepare to do infomercials. I think one of the things to prepare is to just download, copy, and read it, and constantly like feel connected, and just so that you're getting used, your voice actually gets stronger, because it's exhausting. My voice at the end of 3 days, because you're pushing a lot of times with infomercials where you're really straining your voice a little bit because you're really how do I explain it?
Well, you're very passionate about it and
Yeah,
you're
and
excited
high
about it.
energy. Yeah, yeah. So I lose my voice usually by the third day.
So
So you gotta
I just want to
practice.
make sure that everybody knows. So when you're talking about copy, those are the words that you say, and that's just
They're
that's what
all
we use in the industry.
yeah, they're all the lines that you get. Usually get it ahead of time, and you run the copy so you're really comfortable with it. The words, the thoughts behind the words, what you're saying. Of course, that's the copy for the infomercial. And then once you get there, if you've got an audience or you've got models who are using the product and you're asking them questions, a lot of times it's just impromptu. You're just asking questions and getting reactions, and it's just, if you know your product and you've read your script ahead of time quite a few times to know what you're talking about, it comes a lot easier when you're asking the questions.
So when you're talking about putting in a 12 or 15-hour day, that is to shoot one 30-minute spot
Yeah.
infomercial.
A lot of people, a lot of things go into shooting an infomercial. It's a huge production, very similar to shooting commercials. If you've been on a commercial shoot, you can have like 100 people around you, and you're wondering why, and it's for 30 seconds. Infomercials for a whole half an hour. You've got a slew of makeup, wardrobe. If you've got models or testimonial people coming in, you've got all of those people there. You've got your lighting, your sound, um, all your cinematographers, your camera guys. Depending on how many teleprompters you've got a lot of those people working behind the scenes. So it's a lot of, and then you got the clients, and then you've got, and then you've got the production company and all the production people, and then you've got their friends coming by to say hi. So you've got a lot of people around you. So you really have to focus and just get along with everybody and try to find moments in the day to. I try to do this more now because this job is so wonderful and it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to do this that you got to take the time to appreciate, just to stop and thank people. And I think that's how you get more work from the same company. You work once
Absolutely.
and they
And
invite you back.
and I was just going to mention, and this holds true for any kind of job that you have with a teleprompter, you're really at the mercy of the person who's running the teleprompter. And I've been in
Yeah.
situations where I want to read things at a certain pace, and all of a sudden the words are going by way too quickly for me, and all of a sudden my eyes are starting to, like wander and jump. It's it's very appropriate, and look, you want to do
Yes.
this in a nice way. You don't want to start throwing your shoe at the guy running the teleprompter, but it's very appropriate to say, "Hey, would you mind just slowing that up for me a little bit, or could you follow me? I want to try it this way." And it's
Yeah.
always good, even at an audition. And sometimes you might be at an audition where they're using a teleprompter, especially if it's an industrial film. They're also called
Mhm.
educational or corporate films. I always ask, you don't always get the opportunity, but I always like to ask, if could I just run it one time, or at least part of it, because even though you're looking at the size on a sheet of paper, when you're looking at it on a teleprompter, sometimes it's funny, things just look different sometimes. And especially with the spacing of the words, you might not have as many words. Well, you won't have as many words on a line. And
Yeah.
so it takes a little adjustment. So it would be a really good idea, whether you're, about to audition for an infomercial or you're actually doing one, just ask, hey, could we just run it a couple of times? And that way the person running it can get a better sense of your style and the way that you want to present it.
I actually did my last infomercial I did was for Sun Clarella. I've done a couple of them for them, and it's a company here in LA. And they had a teleprompter, and it was a ton of copy, and it was a lot of technical stuff, and they wanted to do a million takes. And the teleprompter guy was really wonderful, but you have to work so closely with him because they had a different font that was harder to read. And I actually went through 3/4 of the day reading this font, and we worked together with the speed and the size and all that, and changing it a little bit. You can actually have them stop and underline things that you want to, or space things, or break it up a little bit. You can work with the teleprompter guy for however is going to make it come out the best for everyone. But he had a different font, and I didn't even think about a font. I was like, okay. So I could have been reading this, and we could have gone by a lot faster and a lot easier if I had just changed the font. So a simple thing like that that you don't even think about is important.
Yeah, and even sometimes, like when I've done some medical things, or scientific things, where
Mm-hmm.
the words are sometimes might be hard to pronounce, or I'm not pronouncing it correctly, I'll ask him if he can just phonetically, write it in there, type it in so that, it's spelled
Yeah.
incorrectly,
Yes.
but I can read it,
Yeah.
and that way it just goes through very smoothly. So basically,
Yeah.
so you're saying that it's not unusual to be putting in incredibly long days, and sometimes you're saying you even do multiple days?
Yeah, I've been flown up to Sacramento quite a few times, and it's a 3-day shoot. And you fly in, you usually get in that night, meet with the clients, meet with the production company. Early the next morning, you're in there for a run through real quick. Sometimes the night that you come in, you do a run through real quick in the studio so you have an idea, and they do a game plan of what time everybody's going to be there, when makeup's going to be there. You get there the next morning, you go through makeup, and it's crazy. They're wonderful. They feed you really well. They're all like family, and you're catching up. And then before you know it, you're on set and you're just, working. And, they have a certain way they want it read. They have a certain way they want it to come across. You're working really closely, and it's like that type of an energy that goes until 1, 2 o'clock for a break for lunch. And then you do it again, and you go until late at night, and then you go back to the hotel, you crash, and the next morning they do like questions of the audience or the models, and you're talking with them and doing a whole different setup.
And
So it's tiring.
I was just going to say, just as another little hint, because I've seen this happen on sets, be really careful what you have for lunch. Especially when you're doing a lot of talking.
Yeah.
You don't want to have this grumbling sound being picked up by your microphone.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. I mean, a lot of times the food is incredible, but just be smart about what you
Yeah.
eat and just
Don't
be
drink
careful.
Diet Coke. Because in the middle of all your talking, Diet Coke tends to sneak up on you.
Got it. Hey,
Yeah, a
so
little.
I want to kind of like take a step back because here we're already talking about you book the job, it's incredible what goes on. How about prior to that? How do people go about trying to get, a job, working on an infomercial?
Personally speaking, my when I decided to get back into acting, I did that about 9 or 10 years ago. I had gotten a call, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, would you like to do a red carpet event?" And I'd never done it before, and I thought, "Oh, it'll be really fun to go on a red carpet with my girlfriend, and we can interview people." It was for some music award ceremony or something, the pre red carpet. And she said, "Oh no, you're going to be doing it by yourself." And I didn't know anything. I had no idea what I was doing. And I showed up, and there was one camera person and me, and I'd made these little cards so I could read from them. And I was interviewing celebrities, and I was, learning all of this, and it was, jumping into the fire type of thing. That's how I learned. And then from there, I did a whole bunch of them for SoCal.com. I did entertainment stuff, and I did it for free because I wanted copy. And so I got a really good bunch of copy, and I put a reel together. And then I went on to lacasting.com, nowcasting.com, actorsaccess.com, and I put a picture up, and I put my reel up, and I put a little, resume for my acting, but I did a little resume for my infomercial, my red
Hosting and
carpet stuff,
yeah.
hosting stuff. And because I had interviewed Heidi Klum, and I had done some other stuff, with Victoria's Secret models, and I did an Emmy, I did Independent Spirit Award, I did a whole bunch of entertainment stuff. It actually helped because I got comfortable in front of the camera doing that type of hosting. And then I just submitted. I went online. I didn't have an agent at the time. I just submitted myself every day, at least 3 times a day. I would look to see if there was any new submissions, and I would just submit. And then eventually I started getting calls to come in and audition, and I didn't get all of them, but I got one that led to 8 because they kept using me as the face of their infomercials.
No,
And
Julie,
then
just
from
excuse me. I just wanted to back up for
that's
one
okay.
second. So you are submitting yourself to infomercial auditions. So you go
Yes.
to, and I want to hear the next part of it in a second, but I just wanted to
Okay.
stop. So you go into the audition, you know what the product is for the audition,
You know
and
what the product is because they tell you, and then you go online and you research the product.
that's what I wanted to hear. So you're learning as much as you possibly can
Yes.
prior to the audition about the product.
And you should do that for any job that you go for, whether it's the other day I went out for an audition for a new web series. I researched the web. I watched the episodes. I researched the casting people. I researched the production, everybody on the production team. And then when I went in and I memorized the lines, I got in. I knew my character. I did the job. You should do that for everything, whether it's infomercials, commercials, acting. You just come in more aware and educated, and they appreciate that, and you stand out. So the more research you do on a product, the more you know about it, the more you can talk about it. And then if you go off copy, you can pick it up in your head because you know about it already. You don't have to rely so much on the copy they give you if you screw up. You can back up and actually do a button on the end because you know the product.
And even like, and I agree with you 100%, even little things like one of the questions you need to find out is like who's directing the episode. And then you go
Mm-hmm.
to a place like IMDb, you look up the director, and that way when you walk into the casting, first of all, you're going to know who the casting director is because you'll recognize
Mm-hmm.
the casting director because you've already researched him or her. If the director is there for the first audition, it might or might not happen, but you're
Right.
going to know who that is instead of wondering, well, is that a PA? Is that, somebody, running around the office? Is that an assistant? No, that's actually the director because that can be very helpful to you.
Yeah.
But anyhow, okay, so you did research, then you
Mm-hmm.
went in to read for this infomercial, or what exactly happens at
Yes.
an audition for an infomercial?
I haven't gone to too many which have actually used teleprompters. And in the beginning, I didn't have an ear prompter, so I couldn't like set up an ear prompter before I went in. Um, so they'd have copy, and usually, even though you got it ahead of time, they have last minute call-ins. So they ask people to come in and audition at the last second, and I haven't gotten the copy, so they usually have copy there. When you go to sign in, you'll sign in your name. If you have an agent, you sign in the agency name. If you don't, you do self-submit on the line, and contact information, which is really important so they can get back to you. And then if you've got your copy, go to a quiet place. Don't talk to people in the waiting room, even if you know them, because it gets you out of your head. Think about the product. Think about why you're there. Think about the people you've researched before you even got there, and be prepared when you walk in. Usually when you walk into a room on your first audition, it's just the cameraman. It's you, the cameraman, a camera, and a board with all your lines next to it. So that's another technique you can work on, is actually printing out your lines ahead of time, putting them to the right of a camera or your iPad or anything that you can record, and actually just run them by pulling the lines off the board and going back to the camera. Try to get as much eye contact as possible when you're saying your lines, so that the people who are going to be casting you can see the energy in your eyes. They can feel, what you're bringing to the audition.
And actually, if I could just jump in for one more second, if you're, and I don't know if this holds true for infomercials, I can tell you for TV commercials, if you can, if you can at least memorize the first line and the last line, that way you can go directly into the camera for the first line. And like you were saying, then if they do have, a big board with all the words to it, then you can kind of look off to the side, grab some of the words, bring it back to the camera, look away. Now, this is for TV commercials. For film and television, you're not going to be going directly into the camera. But yeah, I like that idea very much of just being comfortable practicing, looking away, grabbing the words, coming back, and going like that. Okay, so typically they're going to have the copy of what you might be saying for the actual infomercial.
Right.
And I'm assuming then there must be this really fine line between showing this energy, showing this excitement, but you also don't want to be somebody who's out of control and screaming like it's, the biggest car sales of the century, for 1995. So how do you really fine tune that in a way where, people can see that energy, that excitement, but not have it, look silly?
I think at least the infomercials I've been seeing lately aren't the high energy anymore. They want more of the, you can trust this person, that natural conversational type of copy read that you see now on infomercials. I say in the old days, just a few years ago, there was a lot of high energy, a lot of screaming and craziness. And, you're like, oh my God, this is insane. But I think now it's more like a connection. I think if you can think about looking through the camera lens and you're talking to your best friend and saying, hey, there's this like really great product I need to tell you about. Just something that's exciting, but you're more conversational with somebody, but you've got that excitement because you believe in it. And then you have to memorize the lines, and you got to bring it. And you,
yeah. But you
so
brought up a really interesting point, because I hadn't thought about this. Certainly, for any kind of audition that I have, I always do my 5 W's: the who, what, where, when, why. And so the first one is who. Who are you talking to? And the reason why that's just so important is because depending on who you're talking to, you're going to read things differently. I hadn't really thought about that with doing infomercials, but it seems like that would be crucial, because if there's some kind of health product or makeup line, and you've got a good friend, and you're really zeroed in, you're thinking about your friend who she's very attractive, every once in a while her skin breaks out, and this stuff is going to be great for her, and you were actually,
you could do proactive.
Hey, call me, I'd love to.
Perfect.
Thank you. And all of a sudden, you're talking to your friend because you care about your friend, and this is going to be so helpful. It's going to change her life. So it sounds like they're going for this lifestyle, type of feel, as opposed to, and you get, 3, we'll send another 4, to you, that kind of stuff.
I've done that too. I did a whole slew of Mercedes. There was a company here in the South Bay.
Well, you buy one, you get 2 Mercedes free. Is that?
Yeah. I'll pick the one I want. And I did a walk and talk. It was a half hour Saturday morning. It was for a dealership, and they were selling cars. And I just talked about, Mercedes, and they had creative writing, and it was really fun. I did that for a long time. I've got a lot of that. But that's a more high energy, salesy type of a
Yeah.
pitch.
But so it sounds like then the more believable, the more of a connection that people feel.
Hmm.
That's really what you're seeing more in a trend today with infomercials.
And the excitement of believing in the product. I think that's what sells it.
Now, do you find, are there certain agencies that, either specialize or do submit people for infomercials, or, just do a lot of commercial agencies offer, that service to their actors and models?
I was thinking about this, and I did a lot of research on it when I was talking to you earlier about this. And it really, there's you can search. You can maybe go to SAG-AFTRA. I don't know if there's that many infomercials that are SAG-AFTRA right now, but you can go to them and ask for a list of agencies that break down what their specialties are. And I think in some of those cases, you can find ones that do infomercial um, submissions. But I think really with my commercial agents, I've got a print agent in Orange County. I've got a big commercial agency here in LA, and they submit for infomercial. When I talked to them, they said they're the ones that get them. Um, there's a few I think out there that specialize in it, but hard to find. I did that search, and you think you can Google anything these days, and I came up pretty blank.
Well, a couple of things, and I'm going to be sending this out to everybody attending. There are some companies, production companies, that actually, put these infomercials together. And I contacted them, and they said, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
talent, can contact us directly." So everybody will get some of those links, um, and that could be another way of going about doing it. And like you were saying before, whether it's 800 Casting or
Hmm.
some of the other companies out there that have breakdowns of different projects, just follow
Right.
that very, very carefully. So with the infomercials, you were talking about some of the finances with it, and just like when we were talking about promotional work earlier, I realized those fees are going to vary tremendously. But could
Yeah.
could you give people, just even if it's a wide range of figures of what somebody could potentially make if they are hosting an infomercial?
Looking at the infomercial breakdowns, just recently I saw a couple of postings and they were really low. They're not, I don't do them anymore because I'm SAG-AFTRA only. And a way to get around that if you are union is to go FICOR, which I don't recommend because I really think the unions protect you at work. So I'm a big pro union person right now. But when I was doing a lot of infomercials, they were all non-union. And it really is what kind of deal you can make. So in the beginning, they would just offer you in the beginning, I think my first infomercial was $3,000 for one day, which is great money, and I really appreciated it. And the ones I saw recently were $300, $500 for the day. I had jobs that paid over $16,000 for a day. So it all depends if you've got a great agent, if you're submitting through your agency who can negotiate, or a manager. Um, if you're just willing to do something for $500 and it's not going to take all day, I've done some short ones that I've gone in, I've read, I've gone out. It's only taken me like 2 or 3 hours, and I got paid $500 to $750 for that project with no residuals, and they can air it. It's in perpetuity, so you've got a contract that says they can air it at any time forever. So that's a contract I don't sign anymore because I've done a few of those, and all of a sudden they pop up out of nowhere, and you're like, uh-oh. I did that how many years ago?
Well, and
So
the other thing too with that is that could potentially cut you out of other jobs, because
very much
if
so.
it's competing with another product, certainly they're going
Yeah.
to ask, have you done any work? And if it's, ongoing, or they could use it, forever, then that could
Yeah.
really hurt you.
That's a really good point, actually. I think that you just made is the competitive clause. And if you have an agency that sends you out for a print job for Coca-Cola, and you're going to be seen in this print job for Coca-Cola, and it's a 3 or 5 year contract, you can't go out for any other soft drink. So say your agency gets you a commercial for Pepsi. And it's a SAG national, huge amount of money. You can make $80,000 a year. You can't go out for that because you've got this print job that's been running for 3 to 5 years, and that's where you have to be really careful on the jobs that you pick that are in perpetuity because they can be out there forever, and you have to disclose that when you audition for another company. I've done a BMW, and it only aired for a year, and during that year and then some, I haven't gone out for any other car company. So it's important, I think, to really decide whether you want the amount of money you're going to be paid for something that might keep you from getting a much bigger job.
Right. Yeah, those are tough calls, to make.
Yeah.
Now, have you found though that because I know I did one job. I was not a host. I was actually one of the models, and I can tell a story another time about it. It was a very interesting one. But I had spoken with some hosts, and they were saying that they've worked with a very specific company for many years, and they just keep coming back and doing it and doing it, and they actually were getting a percentage
Yes.
of
Yes.
products that were sold. And I was surprised. I had no idea that that was a possibility.
It is actually if you've got an infomercial. I had an infomercial years ago for a ab roller type of machine, and I got paid a certain amount for a couple of days worth of shooting this, and then they wanted to bring it to QVC, and they wanted me to go on air and be a quick 12-minute, not a host, but just a demonstrator for it. But they were going to give me a percentage of all the product that was sold, and QVC is huge. It never worked out, never went anywhere, but that's you can do that with infomercials. You can do a percentage up front, and sometimes they never air, so you're taking a chance. But then if they air, you can get a percentage of what's sold. You can get also a percentage of like every 6 months they'll pay you another amount if they keep airing it. There's a lot of different um, contracts that you can negotiate when you're doing this,
Yeah,
especially if you got somebody working with you a lot.
and that is where I did my job, and that is where I did speak with some people, and it is
Hmm.
unbelievable when you see the numbers of items that get sold during the
Yeah.
airing. Because for those, at least the ones that I saw, all those things were live,
Yeah.
and having somebody show the excitement, being able to describe and talk about a special vacuum cleaner for 30 minutes or an hour, I can't remember how long their thing lasted. It
Yeah.
was it was unbelievable.
Did they
But
tell you? Did they tell you about what their training was though?
no, they
They
did
actually
not.
go. They actually get them into the factory. These hosts actually learn inside and out the products that they're selling. They're actually when you because I was approached to possibly be a home shopping network host, but I had to move to some place that I
Probably
didn't want to move
Florida,
to.
right? Is
Yeah,
that
and
where
QVC is in I think
Pennsylvania?
Florida,
No, QVC is
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and then Home Shopping
Yeah.
Network is based. I want to say Tampa, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think
Someplace
it's
in Florida,
Orlando.
Orlando.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I it was a Pennsylvania. It was QPC, and they it was in the middle of. I mean, I think you could tie your horse up to the general market or something. Anyway, I'm like, I don't think so. But it was it's an amazing amount of money. You can make a percentage. You do make a percentage, and it's a huge amount of money, and it's very different from being an infomercial host, and it's very different from being a commercial host. It's a lot of training, and you actually are assigned an area that you are passionate about. So if you love jewelry or you love shoes or you love bedding, or they assign you to those areas because you have a passion already for it. And then they bring you into factories, and the manufacturer tells and talks to you about it. You actually have hands-on knowledge of this before you even sell the product. So it's really a great training way to go.
And you were also saying, and I noticed this as well, a lot of times they'll hire lots of models. Uh,
Yes.
so there is a host who's talking, and then they bring in the models who, model the different things or
Hmm.
show how certain things are being used, and they get paid pretty
They get
well.
paid really well too. Yeah.
And have you ever found that by, hosting, that it has led to other kinds of work, whether it's maybe doing an actual commercial, not an infomercial, but an actual commercial or print work with the company, or it's led to other things?
With my infomercial work, it really hasn't led, for me anyway, to other things. I've done commercials where it was a package deal where I shot a commercial for 9 days, a 60-second commercial for 9 days in Sedona, with 100 other people and all these trucks. It was great, but I also did the print job of it, and it was a 1 day, 3-hour print job that paid really well, but it was all part of the package.
Right.
So yeah, that's happened, but not with the infomercials for me anyway. I tend to get, when I work with a company, I tend to get, when they do another infomercial, they talk to the client and say, these are our hosts that we have, and I usually get picked again to work with the same company. So that's wonderful, and that's a huge compliment. But I haven't really gone from that to like print or to something else.
Right. Well,
Like a
but and
commercial.
that's the whole thing. I mean, look, I were, actors, model, we're salespeople, and we're selling ourselves. And look, you're great at what you do, and people like working with you, and your work is effective. People
Yeah.
buy things when they hire you, so why wouldn't they ask you out on a date again? Why wouldn't they
Yeah,
hire you
exactly.
again? Because it makes sense. They trust you. They know that you're going to be a professional there. They know that you're going to be saying the right things to people and representing, the company. And so, I mean, that is the highest form of a compliment when they hire you again.
Yeah, it
So,
is. It
so
is.
before we go to questions, 'cause I know we're kind of running out of time. So for
Okay.
somebody who's just getting started, they want to, look more into trying to get infomercial work. Any basic steps that you would recommend that they take?
Actually, there's a few steps, and it depends on where you're located. I would definitely take a class. There are classes for hosting, and I think once you
Where
just get
where do you find classes for hosting?
in LA, you can actually do a search, but in LA there are classes that you could take. If you want, I can send you a list. I also, like you had mentioned, the list of the links of the production companies. I also have that. I have a huge list. So if you want me to send it to you, so you can send it to your
Absolutely, I'll send it
viewers,
out to people. Thank you.
I've got
Yes.
a huge amount. Um, I think. Let me think. I think I have it here somewhere. I was working
Well,
on it
I can.
before,
I'll
but
call
I'll
you
get it
later.
to you. Yeah,
Okay, great.
but I'll get it to you. It's just, I think it's really important to either take a hosting class. There's also links that I have that I can send to you that are just to watch infomercials. I mean, to get a feel of where right now the infomercial host is, what they're doing, how the feel of it is. I've got a lot of links for that. Also for production companies, they post a lot of their infomercials they've produced online, so you can actually watch and just get an idea and feel of each company and what kind of infomercials they're actually producing and what their hosts are like. So you can see if you fit into any company that you might want to start targeting and trying to get work with. I would definitely, if you've got an iPad or an iPhone, download a teleprompter program so you can practice every day, like voiceover or commercials or anything. You should be working on your craft. You should download copy from Showfax if you can. If nobody knows what Showfax is, it's you can get sites and you can get auditions through Actors Access that's connected to Showfax, and you can download sites from there. So if you see infomercials posted, not only can you submit for them, but then you can download the sites, and you can do that with lacasting.com and nowcasting.com. Even if you don't get the audition, you should be downloading sites and reading them every day, and just get your voice and your voice stronger. Just get more comfortable in front of a camera, even if it's your iPhone or your Android. Just work it. And I think that when you're prepared like that and you get an audition, you're that much more ahead of the game. And I think you're better set to win and get a booking. So that's
Those
my
are great
advice.
points. Yeah, no, those are great things because even if you make the connections and you find the production companies, if you're not ready to do the work,
hmm
then you're not going to be helping yourself out very much. So no, I love those ideas.
Yeah.
Shelley, I wanted to check in with you to see if there are any questions. We do have time for a few questions here.
Yes, Thomas has a question.
I think Shelley probably has to
Shelley.
unmute herself first.
Let's.
Hey, Shelley.
Hey, Shelley.
There we
There we
go.
go.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thomas has a
question,
question,
and
and
I've
I've
unmuted
unmuted
Thomas.
Thomas.
Hi.
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 So Thomas, you are unmuted if you want to ask your question.
Yes, I will. And Julia, thank you so much for your time. This has been fascinating. It really has been.
Great.
So I wanted to ask very quickly, I think in doing research on production companies and watching their videos, I'll begin to get a sense of style, like you said, from their hosts. But would you say it's appropriate to go into an audition and even ask? So can you confirm for me, the target audience for this, which would then help me in knowing, do I want to be a little more of the high energy toward one end of the scale, or more of the talking to my best friend, confiding, making that kind of connection? What's your opinion on that?
The last time I went in for an audition was with a casting director named Lynn Quirian. She does a lot of casting for infomercials. And she sits there with her laptop, and she has a camera operator, and she pretty much tells you exactly the feel that she wants. And if you go through the first take and you don't give it to her, she corrects you and gives you more feedback and gets you to do it again. And so I think it doesn't hurt to ask, but usually they tell you exactly what they want.
All right, very helpful. Good, thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
Shell, any other questions?
Yes, I have another question that has come in via email. Give me one second here.
Well, just speaking about asking questions, I always think if it's a helpful question, a legitimate question that will help your read, always ask. I mean, you don't want to ask silly questions to a casting director, and this holds true, for any kind of audition. Like, so, how do you want me to read this? That's your job, as an actor. But, one of the questions that I would definitely ask if you're not 100% sure, especially for an infomercial, is how do I pronounce the product? Look, if it's
Very
obvious, then you got it.
Yeah.
But, if you go in there and you're mispronouncing the name of, this company, you're not getting the job. So it's always better to maybe you don't sound quite as intelligent, but you want to make sure you know how to pronounce things. If there are any words in there that you're not sure what they mean, just ask. Those are very, very legitimate questions.
You know what I've done actually on an audition? I called the company because I didn't know how to pronounce the name of the company, and that was what you were selling. And they had an answer machine that answered with their name.
Beautiful.
So it was like an easy way to get it without looking stupid when I went in for the audition.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Janice in Seattle is asking, if you live far away from where the infomercial was being shot, will the company pay your travel and your hotel expenses?
It depends. The infomercial that I shot up in Sacramento, I ended up getting flown up there, put up in a hotel, had a limo pick me up and bring me to the shoot, and that was like really wonderful, but it's unusual. Unless you're working for the same company over and over and over again, and that's what you're expecting, and that's where they're shooting. I actually had the audition in LA first and got to meet the people the clients, and then they ended up liking me enough to then do one of these type of conversations with the clients up in Sacramento, and they liked me enough to hire me. I've gone to Chicago once for an infomercial, but it's very infrequent that I'm out of town. But if they really want you, they should be flying you out and putting you up, and you get a per diem per day for meal expenses and any incidentals, and they're usually pretty good about it. But I think for the most part, it's if you're not in LA or you're not in New York or Florida or Chicago, some of the big cities, it's a little harder, I think, to find the jobs that will pay enough to be able to have that expense account to pay for talent outside of the city that they're shooting in. Does that help?
I mean, actually, I was just going to say, I mean, I found that some of the bigger companies, or some of the companies that produce the infomercials, aren't even based in LA or New York. I mean, certainly there are plenty of them that are, but you might find some that aren't there. And maybe you could even try to find some local businesses that are, doing advertising on, maybe a special cable channel locally. And even if you're not getting paid for it, just going in there and getting the
Yeah.
experience would be incredible. And like you were saying before, you can put that on your reel, and that's something that you can start showing people to let them know that you've had experience, you look good in front of a camera, you can talk with confidence, and
Hmm.
that you're likable.
Great, great suggestions.
Hey, Shel, we should probably do like just one or two more questions, and then wrap it up for the day. Anybody else out there?
Yes, Ginger in Texas is asking, do you find that infomercials are only shot in Los Angeles?
No, no, they are shot everywhere. You've got New York has a huge base. Chicago is another big city that does them. LA obviously is big, but then you get cast in LA, and they, like I was saying, you get up to Sacramento, or you go down to, different areas of the state. It's not always the LA based thing. I think there's a lot more work in Florida lately. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but I think there's a lot more work in Florida. There's some companies popping up right now in Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, no, don't just think it's here.
Yeah, and you might be able to find work, on your own, like I was saying before, in your own hometown. Hey, Shel, how about if we do one more question, and
Okay, I've got one final question here, and that is from Glenn in Des
whoops, oh,
Moines,
I'm
and he
sorry.
says,
Yeah.
My mistake on that one. Okay, sorry, Shel.
"Thank you. Okay, I've got only one final question
Thank
here, and
you.
that is
Okay,
from
I've
Glenn in
got
Des
only one
Moines.
final question here,
And
and that is
Glenn
from
is
Glenn in Des
asking, what are
Moines.
the age
And Glenn is
ranges for
asking, what are the
hosts
age
of
ranges for hosts of
infomercials?
infomercials?
Age
Hi, Glenn.
ranges is what we're looking for."
I think the age range is luckily for older people, because unless you're doing something really young, like proactive, even that, you've got the celebrities in there, you're probably in their um, early 30s, and then you've got people who are, older, doing the food infomercials that are fun, and they look like they might be in their 60s or 70s. I mean, so, and there's like co-hosts, so you usually get like the one person is the good guy and one person's the bad guy, and they play off each other, and they've got the comedy going on, so that's fun. But I think it really is, I don't think there's a limit. I really think that if you work well and love the product, and you um, can connect to the audience that they're looking to buy this product, sky's the limit for
Yeah,
age.
and the other thing too is, it depends on the product and who their
Hmm.
audience is.
Right.
And sometimes, you might be surprised. And actually, it is. I was a little bit shocked, a little bit embarrassed at first, but then I understood it. This has nothing to do with infomercials, but I got a phone call from an agent to attend a GOSI, which is the audition for models in New York. And
Right.
I said, so, what is this for? And she said, depends. I said, I said, now you do know how old I am, right? And she said, no, I'm telling you, you were requested. I'm thinking, really? I must have like a whole different sense of what I look like. And then, as it turns out, I didn't book it. They booked a woman, and I saw this woman. She was young, and that was the whole idea,
Yeah.
that you don't
Yeah.
have to be old to have this kind of, issue. So, even with infomercials, depending on the product, they might need somebody a little bit younger, somebody older, depending on who they're trying to sell it to, because they're not going to have a 20-year-old kid try to sell a product to, a 60-year-old.
I have actually a good story about that. I did an
Yeah.
infomercial, another big infomercial, and the product, I won't say what it is, but the product was, I thought, for younger people and women, and it turned out that the product didn't sell very well, because the people who were trying to use it were elderly people who shake, and this product had to have like a finesse with a calm hand. And they would shake trying to use this product, and they couldn't, so they got all kinds of complaints about it, because that was the demographic that was buying the product. It was really unusual.
Got it.
And it just went back to when they were in their 20s, they used to use this product, and so it just was really funny to hear that. And I thought, oh,
Yeah.
you just
So I
never
guess
know.
so I guess that's the whole point. People of all ages are being cast, and because there are many, many different types of products out there for people. So,
And there's
Julie,
many, other than hosting, there's many other different things you can do. You can host, you can model, you can be the person that tries out the product and gives your opinion. There's all kinds of great ways to work in the industry.
well, Julie, I just want to tell you, this was such a pleasure. I'm so thankful that you took the time to get up early Saturday morning here
Oh,
and join us. And yeah, I'm gonna get in touch with you because I'd love to get those other lists and I'll share them with people as well. So anyhow, thank you so
wonderful.
much. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. Glad to
Absolutely.
help.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sure. So I just want to wind things up here a little bit. And for those of you who are not able to attend live, you'll be getting this in about 3 days. And this has been great. I had a great time. And I'll be sending you some emails shortly. I've got some new vlogs that I've created with some great information, and you are on my special list. You'll definitely be getting them. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about my private online mentoring programs, you can just go to howtomodel.com and click on the mentoring link, and you can read all about it. I get a chance to spend time with people individually online and just really help them get started or jump to the next level of their career. And it's a lot of fun. So anyhow, I'm Aaron Marcus. This has been great, and can't wait to talk with you again next month, if not sooner. See ya.